came up with, as I emphasized before, it wasn't more than just a stone information laundry, that they did it really, really badly because they came with a satellite picture and that was all availability. What was available was a satellite picture. They couldn't even cut the writing under it. They brought that picture with the writing underneath the picture, which was just ridiculous. Everybody could see through it.
که از هنرهای سازمان مجاهدین اینه که خوب میتونه دروغ بگه و خوب میتونه یک خبری رو بزرگ کنه و خوب آرایشش بده.
طی روزهای اول و دوم اسفند در آستانه سفر رئیس آژانس بین‌المللی انرژی اتمی، نمایندگان مقاومت ایران طی 3 رشته کنفرانس در واشنگتن، برلین و لندن جزئیات جدیدی از پروژه‌های رژیم آخوندی برای دستیابی به تسلیحات اتمی را فاش کردند. این افشاگری‌های جدید از سوی کمیسیون تحقیقات دفاعی و استراتژیک شورای ملی مقاومت و با کمک هواداران مقاومت در داخل کشور تهیه شده بود.
It's important to remember one of these guys that was out and explaining these things, that okay, we found this, we found that. He defected a few years after. He has compiled a file and he has introduced it to many places, how they refined the newspaper from inside Iran to come up with news conference. I don't think that they started working on it. I know from the other side, I know well before Mojahedin or Rajavi announcing this information was circling in Washington and they needed somebody to do the laundering, to do the information laundry, to announce this for them. Specifically, I have a friend that is a well-informed monarchist and he told me himself that they were approached to do this and they did not do that because that was the kiss of death for them. Rajavi took it.
حتی تو اپوزیسیون ایران هم گروهی رو شما پیدا نمی‌کنید که از این امر حمایت بکنه که آقا شما مثلا بیای، چون که فعالیت‌های هسته‌ای و ایران اختصاص به حکومت فعلی ایران نداره، زمان شاه هم بوده، آینده هم خواهد بود. بنابراین مثل نفت که سرمایه ملی هست، بحث توانمندی هسته یه سرمایه ملیه که برای مردمه. تو در واقع وقتی این رو افشا میکنی یا در واقع اخبار اطلاعاتش رو از یه سرویس اطلاعاتی دیگه میگیری و میدی، تو در واقع حتی با این حکومت هم ضربه نمیزنی، در واقع به منافع ملی کشور خودت ضربه میزنی.
شما ملاحظه کنید که این جماعت تمام مرزهایی که در ایران حتی نوکران شناخته شده رعایت میکردن اینا رو شکستن، اصلا کاملا بیمانند شدن تو ایران. از ارتباط با قدرت خارجی، از دروغ سازی، از ضد اطلاعات ساختن و پخش کردن، عرض کنم به شما از این بی حیثیت کردن انسان، بی منزلت کردن انسان در حتی با افراد سازمان خودشون.
رهبر این سازمان مسعود رجوی خودش در واقع افتخار میکنه در واقع از این که مثلا سایت های هسته یا نمیدونم فلان تعداد پایگاه رو چیکار کرده، سایت هسته ایران رو افشا کرده.
و حتی مسعود رجوی هم گفته که رئیس جمهور آمریکا به خاطر این کار از سازمان مجاهدین پشتیبانی کرده، تشویق کرده.
ببینید به نظر من سازمان مجاهدین کل حیات از بعد به تأسیس تا این نقطه که هست به نظرم دو تا اشتباه استراتژیک کرد. یکی موقعی که از فرانسه یعنی از ایران خارج شد و نیروها رو به عراق کشاند و خود رجوی هم شخصا بلند شد اومد تو خاک عراق، این نقطه بود به نحوی که پرنسیپ های ملی رو ما از دست دادیم. نکته دوم بحث انرژی هستی است. ببینید حتی تمام نیروهای مخالف خارج کشور نیست سر موضوع هستی یک پرنسیپ های ملی است، اصلا ربطی به حاکمیت نداره. هرچند من الانم شخصا با خیلی از شاید عقایدم با خیلی چیزهایی که در رابطه با حاکمیت هست فرق کنه و مخالف اون باشم، ولی یک چیزای پرنسیپ های ملیه. یعنی خیانت دوم سازمان همین بود، اومد یک سری مسائل و اطلاعات ملی مردم ایران رو سطح بین المللی افشا کرد و از این بابت خواست ضربه بزنه. به نظر من همین دو تا موضوع کل سازمان مجاهدین رو سوزوند.
در این تردیدی نیست که در واقع تمام اخبار اطلاعاتی که سازمان منتشر میکنه از سرویس های غربی میگیره. در این هم محرزه. یعنی این چیزی نیست که الانم من بگم. شما اگه برید مصاحبه های من سال 2004 تو مصاحبه‌ای که تو پاریس داشتیم، کنفرانسی که تو پاریس داشتیم، به همین نکته من اشاره کردم. اصلا این چیزی نیست که فقط ما بگیم یا فرضاً کارشناسای ایرانی بگن. شما خودتون حتما این کتاب آقای اسکات ریتر رو مطالعه کردین، دیدین. خب ایشون خودش بازرس یکی از بازرسای سلاح‌های اتمی در عراق بوده. خب خود ایشون در واقع چیکار میکنه؟ میگه که توی کتابش به صراحت اشاره میکنه که در واقع منابع اطلاعاتی سازمان مجاهدین اسرائیل هست.
Today I would say that if the MKO reports on political aspects of it, there might be some grains of truth, but when it comes to technical reporting, they don't get the full picture. They only get part of the picture. For instance, to give you an example, it was the MKO that released the information about Natanz, about the existence of Natanz. Up until that time, the Iranian government had denied that they were involved in any activity related to the enrichment of uranium. The MKO was the organization that was able to get this information out. That information turned out to be accurate. Now, the question is, did that information, was it sourced by the MKO itself, or was the MKO used as a vehicle to provide this information to the public? There's reason to believe that in the case of the Natanz information, that this information was actually a product of a third agency, an outside party, Israel, which developed this intelligence, and then Israel used the MKO as the vehicle to spread this information because of the MKO's past record of having intelligence information relevant to the Islamic Republic.
I heard specifically regarding the nuclear facility. The journalists that I spoke to about this specific case were saying that in fact the intelligence had come from Israeli Mossad. The Israeli Mossad had been looking for a way to make it public. The Israeli Mossad then went to the MEK, and the MEK was very happy to make a public announcement about their intelligence.
What Scott Ritter says about external sources is obviously his access to some parts are much more than I have had. So he probably means either Mossad or, end of the day, satellites. Somebody that has satellites. As far as I am concerned, I look at it from this side. Mojahedin-e Khalq don't have satellites. They have never claimed to have satellites. So there has been a picture, has been brought, and they have announced it. Who took the picture? Again, Mojahedin-e Khalq would not have the access to even say to somebody to pinpoint that. So it is external source.
Well, let's also remember that the timing of the MKO's release was in 2002. And the MKO was staring at the inevitability of Western intervention into Iraq, and the MKO understood that its long-term viability was threatened, and they needed to insinuate themselves back into favor with Western organizations. So they were the ideal candidate for this kind of work. The other thing is that if Israel released the information and the information turned out to be wrong, then Israel has a credibility issue. The other thing is, if Israel releases the information about Iran, people aren't going to tend to believe that Israel might be exaggerating or hyping up a threat. I think Israel knew for a fact that Iran was not pursuing an active nuclear weapons program. What Israel had was information that Iran was operating in violation of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. And by providing this information to the MKO could exceed stating that a nuclear weapons program existed to create the myth of a nuclear weapons program linked to information that turned out to be accurate. It was a smart ploy on the part of the Israelis, and it was extraordinarily successful.
I know that many people like Scott Ritter in his book, Target Iran. He goes specifically saying that the Western intelligence services, they gave the information to Rajavi to announce it. Some kind of information laundry, as they call it themselves. And in a way, there is a lot of hint that the Israelis did it. I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the MKO is an Iranian organization, and I would imagine that they're held accountable to Iranian laws. So if an Iranian who takes classified information and provides it to enemies of Iran is caught, I think, ultimately that's up to the Iranian judiciary to decide what the penalty is. As a former intelligence officer, I can tell you that, our job is to get people to betray their country. I want information. Let's say I'm targeting Iran. I want information about Iran, and the best way to get that information is to find an Iranian who's willing to break Iranian law to give me that information. Is the United States going to hold that Iranian accountable for violation of Iranian law? Not on your life. We're going to reward that person. We've now recruited him. We're going to take care of him, etc. So if Iran's looking to the outside world to hold the MKO accountable for gathering information that Western agencies want, Iran's waiting in vain. Ultimately, it's up to Iran to decide what punishment is appropriate for people who are found guilty of violating Iranian law. But there is no body of international law that will hold the MKO accountable for what it's doing.
After that, his aim is not to rule Iran, is not to get back to where he was trying to go. His aim is to save his skin. No one is looking at the nuclear issue. Doesn't matter what the Iranians think. He never thinks about that anymore. In fact, what he wants is what Washington thinks. He does not even have his propaganda system directed at Iran anymore. If you look at Google, his name he's just in English. He doesn't care about Farsi. He knows that Iran is gone. What he wants the Washington attention. And why? Because he's in danger. Saddam is gone. Many others have gone. He is in hiding. He wants to save himself. After Saddam falls, 2003, he turns back. He wants to undo what is done. From 2003 till now, 7 years. The only work that he's done is to come off the list of terrorism in Western countries. What are these lists? They're not directed at Iraq or Iran. Nobody cares here. They are directed at their own countries. If you are in a list of terrorism in US, means you are a danger to the US, not to Iran. You can be a danger to Iran, you will not necessarily be in the list. Why does he want this? Because he wants to go to Washington. What is sad, I don't have a problem that he goes to Washington. In fact, it's his place probably. Go there, and there is a lot there. He can join them. What is sad is 3,000 people have been living in a camp in Iraq as hostages. He doesn't give them up, and many backers in the West don't let him down. After 7 years, they are trapped in this camp, and they can't come out. That is the sad part of it. Otherwise, Rajavi going to Washington, coming off the list, doing the stunt for the West. He is doing willingly, no problem.